Hello, I'm Janet Morana, the Executive Director of Priests for Life. And of course, we're bringing you now a really special program. You know, the Gospel of Life shows that Father Pavone and I did over a decade ago, we produced them for as the request of Sky Angel. They wanted a pro-life show on their Christian network. And so we produced many of these shows, and so many of the guests that we had on these shows, the stories they gave us, the testimonies they gave us are still relevant today. So today, we're going to bring you another episode of the Gospel of Life. And this one has really a special meaning for me personally, because it's about Dr. Matt Harrison. And he actually is a medical advisor here at Priests for Life. But you know, so many of you have now heard of the abortion pill reversal. And you might wonder, how did that all start? How did that all begin? Well, not many people know. Many of you know of Dr. Delgado out in California, but not many of you know of Dr. Matt Harrison. Well, see, it was Dr. Harrison in his private practice in North Carolina heard of a woman who had taken the RU486 pill, took the first dose, as they do in the abortion clinic, went home, deeply regretted what she had started to do, and panicked. I'm not going to take the second pill, but what's going to happen to my baby? Oh my goodness, can I stop this or is it too late? Well, watch now, the Gospel of Life, and you're going to hear in Dr. Harrison's own words, and you're going to also hear from that mother and what happened to that baby. So stay tuned.
An abortion procedure begins and then the mother changes her mind. We'll talk with a doctor and his patient next on Gospel of Life. Hello, I'm Reverend Frank Pavone, Director of Gospel of Life Ministries. Welcome to our program. We're joined by our Associate Director, Janet Morana, and by one of our medical advisors, Dr. Matt Harrison, who is our guest today from Charlotte, North Carolina. Dr. Harrison, welcome to the program.
Thank you for asking me to be here today.
Great to be with you. And Janet, of course, we were with Dr. Matt and his family not long ago in North Carolina. Tell us a little bit about your practice and your background.
Okay. Our practice is Northgate Family Medicine. We're just north of Charlotte. We're a pro-life practice that also serves some of the crisis pregnancies that we run into. We do have women that come up from the abortion mills, and we offer them delivery services to give them a chance to be able to bring life to their children. Mm-hmm. So it's a really exciting time in our practice. We're growing, and the community is responding and being very supportive. We're really excited about what's going on.
We recently spoke about an amazing case that came your way recently, and we want to talk about that today together with your patient who was involved, who's going to be joining us by phone. And this had to do with RU486, and she took RU486 and then changed her mind. Before we speak with her and talk about what happened after that, tell us a little bit about how RU486 actually works.
Sure. RU486 is a very potent progesterone inhibitor. The way this works is similar to the way a key and lock work for just a common door. So you can have a key that can fit into the lock but not turn it. You can have a key that would fit into the lock and turn it. Then you might have other keys that won't fit into the lock at all. So RU46 would be the key that fits into the lock but doesn't turn and unlock the door. So when this is taken by a woman, it does two things. It fits into the lock but doesn't turn the key, and therefore does not have the same effect that progesterone does on the woman's body and developing uterus or fetus. And then the other thing is that it shuts down the woman's natural ability to put off progesterone. And so therefore, the placenta will not develop properly, will actually separate away, and the baby will die.
Essentially, the baby is dying from starvation, right?
Exactly, yes.
And how quickly does that happen? When you say the placenta, doesn't, this is in the first couple weeks of pregnancy, right?
Yes,
taken?
Yes, RU46 is FDA approved to be given under 8 weeks gestational age. And so most women will get it somewhere around 6, 7, 8 weeks of pregnancy. But it works rather quickly within the first 2 to 3 days of taking the medication. And then a woman is given 4 Cytotec pills, which are placed inside the woman that she usually does at home. And this induces labor to expel the new baby.
We're going to talk with your patient in just a moment, but you just mentioned 8 weeks or under of gestational age. I mean, we're talking about babies who, I mean, sometimes people think RU486, chemical abortion, well, it's just an unformed mass of cells. No, we're talking here about babies whose hearts are beating, and by gestational age of 8 weeks, I mean, we're talking about most of the organs are already present. I mean, you could see the human form of this child. And just to put this in perspective for the viewers, we're talking about we're not talking about some kind of early microscopic killing of children.
Yes, this baby, just like the rest of us, just needs to be nourished and to grow, and that's at that stage.
Well, we have Ashley with us on the telephone, calling in from North Carolina. And Ashley, it's great to be with you this morning. Thank you for joining the program.
Oh, you're welcome.
Now, Dr. Matt, tell us in conversation here with Ashley what happened when she came to you.
Good morning, Ashley.
Hey.
Thanks for being with us.
Thanks.
Ashley, why don't you tell us just briefly your circumstances before you went to take RU46, and then what happened just before you came to our clinic?
Well, I realized I was pregnant, and I took the test with my boyfriend, and he didn't want me to have her, and he just told me all this stuff like I wouldn't be able to go to school, and my parents would be mad at me. I wouldn't be able to have a job, and I gave in to it, and I actually believed him, and then I went to the place and got the pill, and then they told me that I had to take like 4 more. And I didn't tell my parents about it until like the day I was supposed to take the other pills.
And how long had you been in a relationship with your boyfriend?
3 years.
And did he come with you to the abortion?
No.
Okay. All right.
So they gave you, so you took the RU486 drug right there at the abortion facility?
Yes.
Right, okay. Now, Dr. Harrison, usually how many days have to go by before then the patient would take the Cytotec?
Usually 3 days.
Okay.
Now,
So
Ashley, when you were in the abortion clinic, how did they confirm your pregnancy? Did they do an ultrasound or?
Yeah, they did an internal ultrasound.
Okay, and did they let you see that?
No.
Or how about hear the heartbeat?
No.
Okay.
They didn't tell me anything about cardiac activity or anything. All they did was say that I was 7 weeks pregnant and then they could do it.
Well, we do know from the documentation from their clinic that they did see heart activity. So then, so you left the clinic and you went home, and then what happened over the next 2 days?
Well, on my way home, I was like feeling so bad. I was like, "What have I done?" And then I didn't tell my parents about it because my boyfriend kept on saying everything's going to be okay. We're not supposed to have a baby at this early. And so I just went and told my mom about it, and she directed me to pregnancy crisis and told me not to take the pills. She said for me to call back that lady and ask her if there was a way that I didn't have to take them.
You mean the lady at the abortion facility?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you called the abortion facility, what did they tell you?
They basically told me to shut up and take the pills. They said that the baby would probably come out with missing a leg or a arm and wouldn't be healthy. And then I called a pregnancy crisis center, and then they directed me to Dr. Harrison, and then I came over there, and he said I could start taking progesterone shots.
So you came to our clinic, and it was the first time that you had been to our clinic, And, when you told me your story, first of all, I was just really amazed at your courage. Really was very encouraging to me. And I was very excited that you were so protective of your new baby. And it was really a blessing to us in our clinic. And when we were trying to figure out what to do, if you remember correctly, I literally had to step out of the office, out of the room with you. And I went out into my office and prayed, literally prayed and asked if God could give me some type of insight as to what to possibly do in this situation. And when searching for a possible antidote to this RU46, I remembered about its method of action. And Danny Holland, who's my partner in the practice, is a Creighton medical consultant certified through Pope Paul VI Institute. And he has progesterone in the office that we use for supplementation for women who have fertility problems. So we came up with the idea of giving her progesterone to try to counteract and really outcompete. In other words, putting more good keys into her system to outcompete the bad keys that were in there, not making the lock turn. So that's what we did, right, Ashley?
Yeah.
And we were kind of nervous, weren't we?
Yeah.
What were your thoughts? I mean, I know that you were really scared, and you were afraid that you might bleed. You were afraid that this could possibly even hurt you, but you were willing to take that chance, weren't you?
Yes.
That was wonderful.
That is courageous, and because you knew there were risks. And Dr. Matt, this was the first time you had ever encountered a situation like this, right? Someone takes RU46, then changes her mind before she takes the Cytotec and ends up at your doorstep.
Exactly. I mean, and it's a very effective drug. 5 to 8%, only 5 to 8% of women who take RU46 then are required to have a surgical abortion.
Right.
So it's very effective. So actually that weekend, you actually started to spot and bleed a little bit, didn't you?
Yeah.
And what did you think was going to happen?
Well, I thought maybe the abortion was going through, but it only bled for just a little bit. So, and I didn't know what it was, and I just went up there
and how did
to the office.
Right. How did you feel when you got that ultrasound and saw that heart beating?
I felt relieved that she was okay.
Wow. And then you required progesterone shots about twice a week, right? You're about halfway through your pregnancy?
Yes.
Great.
And then what happened?
Well, Ashley, you tell us. You tell us what happened.
Well, then pretty soon I didn't even have to have the progesterone shots anymore because I guess my progesterone levels started going up and going back to normal, and then I didn't have to take them anymore.
Ashley, how did you feel the first time you felt the baby kick?
I was happy. Because she was moving around, and when I seen the ultrasound, I seen that she had all her legs and arms and feet and hands, and I was just thinking about what that other doctor had said that she'd be missing stuff, and she wasn't missing anything.
Wow. And how did you feel at the delivery?
Oh, I cried because I was so happy she was okay.
And what's your baby's name?
Kaylee.
Kaylee. And Kaylee now is how old?
She'll be 3 months on the 7th of June.
And healthy.
And healthy.
Healthy and normal.
Yes, and actually, Dr. Holland, who actually did the delivery that weekend, sent the placenta to the pathologist to examine it. And the placenta was perfectly healthy. Nothing wrong with the placenta. No inflammation or any of the kind of common things that you might see. Kaylee was perfectly healthy and has been perfectly healthy and is growing and doing everything she needs to do.
That is amazing. So it's an RU486 rescue. I mean, this is not
really
something we hear about very often. Ashley, this is a wonderful thing that you're coming on with us today, because what you're doing by sharing your story is encouraging many other people. You're encouraging other doctors. You're encouraging other young ladies in your situation to have the strength to turn around and to seek help, even when others might be saying it's too late. And I would like you, Ashley, to just take a moment now, talk to whoever might be listening right now to our program, who might be in the same situation that you were. She might be on her way to the abortion facility. She might have already taken RU486. And then that voice inside of her is saying, no, I did the wrong thing. I love my baby. I have to stop. What would you say as someone who's now been through this and whose baby has been born healthy? What would you say to other young women who might be faced with that exact same situation?
That they don't have to go through with it, that they just need to go to the Pregnancy Crisis Center, and that they'll point them in the direction of a doctor that can help them.
Yes, it's wonderful. Well, we're going to take a little break here, and then we're going to come back with some final thoughts on this beautiful story of a life saved. So please stay with us.
There's nothing wrong with your television set. You don't see anything because there's nothing there. Abortion, the most common surgery in America. Why don't we ever see what it looks like? A message from Priests for Life.
Happy birthday to you.
The decision to have an abortion not only affects that moment in your life,
Kristen Gordon.
it affects many precious moments to come.
I now pronounce you man and wife.
Please remember, where there's life, there's hope. A message from Priests for Life.
Well, welcome back. We've been talking with Dr. Matt Harrison, one of our medical advisors, and Janet Morana, our associate director, together with Dr. Matt's patient, Ashley, and her baby, who was saved from almost being aborted through RU486. A marvelous story that we have heard here. Ashley took the drug in the abortion facility, then changed her mind, did not take the second drug, Cytotec, which would have induced the contractions, but rather went to Dr. Harrison, and now this baby is born and living and healthy. What a beautiful thing.
If you notice what Ashley said, though, she said her boyfriend didn't want her to have the baby because it was going to affect her work, her education. She was afraid to go to her mother, right? I mean, those are all the reasons that we say the girls in crisis. That's why they go for, she wasn't claiming her right to choose, I don't want to be a mom, let me just get this RU486. She was nervous, she was upset, she was confused, she was frightened, she was being pressured. But then after she took the pill, she went home and felt such guilt that she finally told her mother. And what did her mother do? She didn't kick her out of the house. She didn't get upset. She said, let's call a pregnancy help center and see what we can do.
They all did the right thing.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful Christian family. I've met her parents personally. They would have supported her in any way they could have. And it's wonderful to see their love for their daughter and their granddaughter.
Yeah, exactly.
But so many girls are afraid to go to their moms, and here, this was exactly what happened with this girl. Thank God she got that courage at that last moment and reached out to her mother, who then, the pregnancy center connected her with you. And I mean, it's a miracle.
I'm going to ask in a moment, Ashley, just one more question. But Dr. Matt, what does this mean for other doctors? Now, what can you say to other practitioners who might be faced with these similar situations? Obviously, we're not in a situation where we can do a series of experiments and tests on this, but what you tried worked.
Sure did. And I think what is very important for everyone to realize, doctors, patients, sidewalk counselors, is that you have to keep the concept of it's never too late. It's never too late to make an effort to save a life. And if you have that attitude, and if you live in the culture of life instead of being defeated at every turn and accepting defeat, then you can make these proactive steps towards saving a life. And so people outside of an abortion clinic can take this. Even though a woman has gone in to get an abortion, they still pray. They still hope that there's going to be salvation of that life to come back out of that clinic. Same when a woman comes into a doctor's office, has already started the procedure for an abortion, a doctor can still practice medicine with a culture of life that says, I'm going to try to save that life. The mama's life and the baby's life. They're both important. Why can't we save them both?
Exactly. Well, thank you for doing so, and thank you, Janet. And Ashley, tell us what kind of schooling you're going to be undertaking very soon.
Oh, I'm going to be in the nursing program next fall.
Wonderful. We're going to be praying for you, and we look forward to getting together with you in the future. And thanks again for sharing your testimony today.
Thank you.
And thank you, brothers and sisters, for watching. Stay with us now because you'll learn how you can support our ministry, and also we'll have our action segment coming up where you can learn even more ways that you can build a culture of life. Spread this beautiful story that you heard today so that we can encourage many others to choose life, to pray for life, and to save life. Stay with us.
An amazing story, amazing testimony. And of course, that little girl is, oh my goodness, now over 10 years old and growing. And you know, that's not the only case. More than 500 children to this day, right now when I'm talking to you, have been saved through this process of the abortion pill reversal. Because see, Dr. Harrison took what he found out then, and he started consulting other pro-life doctors around the country. And that's where he and Dr. Delgado got together and some other doctors, and they actually wrote a protocol for this process. You could be the messengers of this information, especially for sidewalk counselors. You're out in front of the abortion mills. Those who do 40 Days for Life are out and pray out there. Sometimes, but especially if you see the girls coming out with that little paper bag, you know what they have in that bag? They have that second pill. It's not too late, and that's the message. They can be helped. There's a network now of doctors all over the country and nurses that answer the phones 24/7. You can go to the website, abortionpillreversal.com. That's abortionpillreversal.com. And there, all the information you need to know to be up to date on this is right there. And again, brothers and sisters, children are alive today because of people like you. You heard of a girl who took this pill, first dose, and believe me, if they call the abortion clinic, they're going to tell them it's too late, that they have to take the other pill. They scare them. They tell them the baby will be deformed, all kinds of complications. 500 plus babies, healthy born and growing, is proof to me that this can happen and these babies can be saved. So again, abortionpillreversal.com. You can all be part of the solution to help women. Because remember what I've always told you, because of the Silent No More campaign. Women don't have abortions out of freedom of choice. They do it because they have no freedom and no choice. So we can reach out with that hand of hope and healing right now, and we also can stop abortion by spreading the word that when you take RU486, it's not the end. We can stop the process and save those children. Well, also, too, now I've been bringing you episodes of The Catholic View for Women. As I told you, Teresa Tomeo and I were in like 11th, 12th season so far. But we've been doing is a special treat for you. We've been going back to our early shows, which we have online. And we're in season 2 right now. And we're going to bring you now another episode. And with each episode, I provide homework for you. So you can go to our website, thecatholicviewforwomen.com. And when you're looking at the page over to the right, you'll scroll to the right and you'll see previous episodes. Just click on there. We're in season 2 and you'll see all the links for all the homework. Because at the end of the show, you know, there's this cute little image of me by a blackboard because I used to be a teacher and I'm giving you the homework and you might be going, oh my goodness, I didn't get that website, or I didn't get that church document. Oh my goodness now, Janet, how am I going to get my homework? You're going to go to our website, thecatholicviewforwomen.com, and you can get the homework there with all the links. And of course, we're on Facebook, so maybe you want to like us on Facebook too. So let's join now and enjoy another episode of The Catholic View for Women.
We're so glad you could join us for yet another episode of The Catholic View for Women, news and views from a truly Catholic perspective for and about women, of course. My name is Teresa Tomeo. I'm the co-host of The Catholic View, along with Astra Beta Gutierrez and Janet Morana. And on today's episode, we're going to talk about younger women and reaching younger women, especially on the college campus, because this is such a mission field, especially with the culture and the way the culture is going after young women. And Astrid, I know you must see this in your work in the Hispanic community, especially.
Absolutely. Young people that are basically exactly going to university, and it really is a dream of all Hispanic parents to see their children going to college. But what they don't know is that they are assaulted morally. I mean, their values are attacked when they go to these campuses. So what I see is basically the Bible verse, what does it profit a man to, gain the world if he loses his soul? So that's a really important topic that parents constantly acknowledge.
And Janet, something too, you're a mom of 3 girls, and this is something that you've struggled with, but let's take a look at what one woman had to say. We caught up with her at a recent conference, and she's saying that, you know what, even if your daughters are going to Catholic schools, Catholic colleges, universities, it doesn't necessarily mean they're not going to be exposed to an awful lot of dangerous things about particular lifestyles. Let's take a listen.
I went to a Catholic college, and some parents do think that just because your kid's going to a Catholic school that bad things don't happen. It's not the typical party life, but that's a misconception. There's definitely, the same temptations, especially for females on Catholic campuses. There's sex, there's drugs, there's alcohol, there's partying, there's all that kind of stuff. I think it's really important for women in college to really just kind of have something to ground them. I didn't really get into that stuff because I did have a pretty grounded faith. I was pretty strong in it, but you still face those temptations, and it can be challenging for sure. You see your friends and everything going down a different path, and something that you might realize is unhealthy for them or just dangerous for them, and you definitely try to give them as much advice as possible. But still, it can be, you have to kind of present it in a way knowing that, you're not being judgmental. You really are just being caring and trying to love them in the best way possible. So I've definitely had those moments. But you never really know sometimes if you get somewhere with them or not. But you could just pray that the best happens. So.
Wow. It was interesting.
Yeah.
From that young woman.
And I had spoken a little bit more in depth to Kathleen, and one term she used was, she said, these kids nowadays, is the term friends with benefits. There was even this movie, Friends with Benefits. Right. And what it is it's terrible. I actually had to ask them, but I didn't know. What does this mean? And they said, what it means is you have sex with a person and no other attachment to them. They're just kind of like an acquaintance. And it's okay that this is a person you've agreed that we'll just have sex occasionally and it's fine and good.
Right, the hookup culture.
Hookup culture.
I was really astonished to see that Kathleen was saying that she was a person really grounded in her faith. She was raised very well by her parents, and she went to this college environment, and she felt really like she was tested. Right. And she saw all the devastation around her. So that's really an eye-opener for any Catholic parent.
Yeah, and the other thing too is, in the college campuses, Planned Parenthood is like on the assault or the attack and infiltrating. In a lot of the secular campuses, they have clinics actually on campus. And when they're not actually on campus, they recruit, as you know, college students to kind of get people involved. And if you know someone who needs an abortion, you bring them down to the Planned Parenthood up the street. So it's really, it's so impermeated into the campus lifestyle.
Well, that's the thing. It's so accepted. As a matter of fact, I think I may have told you about this, and this is happening in my area of suburban Detroit. It's actually at the University of Michigan campuses, where they've started, a young girl thought it would be a great idea to start something called the Walk of Shame Shuttle, and it's a legitimate business. Newspapers have written about it. True story. I'm serious.
Oh my goodness.
Now, a listener of mine on my radio program sent me this story, and I thought, okay, this must be some type of satire. It can't be real. Someone can't be proud of actually offering this. But what this girl decided to do was she was noticing that a lot of her friends, and we'll keep it clean because this is a family network, who were having a night on the town, so to speak, were having to walk home alone the next morning. And she felt badly for them, so she says, I'm going to start a college cab service for $5, and then she also gives them, not only offers them a ride, but she also gives them a coupon to an abortifacient and a high five. That's what the ad says. And it's been written about in several different newspapers. And the thing that really got me, ladies, is that none of the writers, and as a journalist, I'm thinking, you don't ask the question of, gee, what kind of a dangerous situation are these girls putting themselves in? Right. First of all, obviously, sexually transmitted diseases and promiscuity and everything else. But why wouldn't you start something to encourage them not to go that route? Right. And yet this is, and all the newspapers were praising this woman, calling her the new young entrepreneur, comparing her to the founder of Facebook, the people who founded, the young man who founded Facebook. And I'm thinking, nobody is talking about the objectivity of women, objectification of women, promiscuity, the dangers out there. This is something that is being hailed as a great business idea. Can you imagine that? True story.
But the colleges really are places that worship at the altars of secular humanism, and Planned Parenthood really does permeate, you know, the curricula of these universities. The culture of death really is present there. And I'm having some conversations with a young woman right now who was in a crisis pregnancy last year at a major state university in California. She told me that she really wasn't sure, like any college student, she was a little nervous, but she wasn't sure what she wanted to do. Her advisor pretty much was advising her to have an abortion and told her to go to Family Planning Associates. Family planning sounds wonderful. She thought, well, they'll give me the option to be able to have my child. What she didn't know is Family Planning Associates is the biggest for-profit abortion chain in Western United States. So she ends up at Family Planning Associates. Before she even gets asked what she wants to do, she's sitting in a stall about to be prepped for an abortion. She did not know.
Goodness.
Now, so what she told me was, I was basically, they assumed I wanted an abortion. They didn't offer me an alternatives. They barely talked about adoption. There are no resources on my campus, very little for moms. And so they assumed the only thing I could do was have an abortion. Well, she got up and she left. Thank God that she was assertive and she
But how many
she
young
left.
women
How many
aren't
women
assertive
are
like
not
that?
exactly, who assume maybe they're right. This is probably what's best for me. So Lila Rose has uncovered this as well in her work at Live Action about how the abortion industry, the culture of death is so prevalent in these universities, and astonishingly enough, sometimes Catholic college campuses also have some of these resources.
Right. Well, one other resource is the Nurturing Network, which was founded by Mary Cunningham Agee, and that's been around for over a decade. And what they do is trying to be there as that intervention for these women to say, you don't have to choose between quitting school and having an abortion. You know, there's another thing, and they try to come on and give them the support services. But the problem is, like you're saying, the very staff and teachers and counselors that are in these schools are just leading them down to the abortion clinic, which is terrible.
Absolutely. Feminists for Life says refuse to choose, and a woman should not have to choose between her child and her career.
That's right.
But it's so scary because it's just so expected of these young women that they're going to, quote unquote, expected to have all these different relationships.
Right.
It's very frightening to me. Now, there are a lot of different groups, though, the ministries that are coming up that are so successful at getting a positive message out there about modesty and fashion and dignity, true dignity of women. We're just going to mention a few of them now, but I want to remind you, you can always go to our website, thecatholicviewforwomen.com, to find these resources. Purefashion.com has done a wonderful job in terms of actually providing modesty guidelines and fashion shows, and Brenda Sharman and that group has done a wonderful job with information for young women on how to dress, but to look great. To look fashionable but modest. Endow is a wonderful organization for women. It actually is an acronym for educating on the nature and dignity of women, and that was started under the leadership of the wonderful Archbishop Chaput, who's now in Philadelphia. Focus, of course, is a fellowship of Catholic university students, and that's a wonderful ministry that ministers to both men and women on campuses. And then the Cardinal Newman Society, and we're going to hear an interview with someone who works at the Cardinal Newman Society at a college campus in New Jersey when we come back. And then chastity.com, you're familiar with that website.
The New Sexual Revolution, which is led by Kristalina and Jason Everett, and the wonderful work that they do. These are answers, these are places where people can go and get real answers to their questions.
Well, we're going to take a break in a minute, but again, I just want to remind you that you can go to our website for all these resources, CatholicViewForWomen.com, and really want to encourage you to check these things out because we've done a lot of research ourselves and vetted these organizations. I've interviewed many of the people involved. I know that you have had, both Janet and Astrid as pro-life activists, have had involvement or at least contact with these groups, and we know there's a positive alternative out there for young women. But it's so sad to me that they get caught up in this lifestyle, and there's another way, and the way, of course, is the way of Jesus Christ and the Catholic Church. So let's take a break, and we'll come back on The Catholic View, and we'll talk to Mary Kaminsky. She is in the trenches with young women on the college campus, and we'll share her interview when we come back. Stay tuned. Thanks for joining us and welcome back to another episode of The Catholic View for Women. I'm Teresa Tomeo along with Astrid Bennett Gutierrez and Janet Morana, my co-hosts for this wonderful program. We're talking about reaching Catholic women. In particular, in this episode, we're trying to concentrate on Catholic women at the college level, which is a very vulnerable time of a young woman's life because they get out of the home and they go off to college and they're exposed to all kinds of things, even sometimes if they're at a Protestant or a Catholic university or college. Now, in just a minute, we're going to show a very good interview that I had the chance to do with Mary Kaminsky. Now, I know Mary from the March for Life and Silent No More,
right.
And you know her a little bit more than most about
Yes.
a very interesting journey that she's been on back to Christ.
Yeah, Mary actually, the reason why she has such a heart to work with young women on college campuses is because she herself, when she was in high school, she was 17, was sleeping with her boyfriend. She was raised in a good Catholic family, going to Catholic high school, and she became promiscuous with him and became pregnant and had an abortion. And she went to a Planned Parenthood clinic in New Jersey. She was only 17.
Ugh.
Back then, this is before abortion was legal in New Jersey, but it was legal in New York. And they sent her to New York to one of Dr. Nathanson's clinics, and they told her to lie about her age.
Wow.
Lie about her age. So her and her boyfriend went off, she had that abortion, came back, and she said there it was, the slippery slope. From that, she stopped going to church, her grades plummeted, she just couldn't function anymore, basically. And that relationship broke up, but then she kept sleeping around, and just everything kept going downhill. Of course, years went by, she found healing through Rachel's Vineyard, speaks out for Silent No More, and so her passion for working in campus ministry is that she wants to stop these young ladies from going down the road that she knew that she went down, and the trauma and the upsetment and all the problems it created for her, if she can just stop some of these ladies. So she has, I think, great insight. And so we had a chance to talk to, as you did, Teresa,
Right.
in depth. So let's take a look right now to our interview with Mary Kaminsky.
Many women that are on a college campus today are away from their faith. For many, many different reasons. And what the church can do is have young people, almost a peer-to-peer ministry. We have what's called Focus, which is the Fellowship of Catholic University Students. So that is kind of an ideal way for young students that have kind of gone back to their faith or, are really filled with sharing their faith to outreach to other students.
What else do you think the church can be doing on a nationwide level to reach out to young women on campus, especially because women are so attacked by the culture?
I think that many women today do not know the truths of the Catholic Church and what they really believe about women. And part of that is my generation really let go of all the things that the church had as truths. And now it's a great opportunity for the church to say, well, why do we believe, that we shouldn't have sex before marriage? Why do we believe that marriage is sacred between a man and a woman? Why do we believe that women should have children naturally and that, all these other things, the pill, contraception, is a bunch of garbage? So I really think that those are issues that women really need to know that they don't know because they're barraged with all what the media says and the culture of contraception and everything that's out there that's all they hear. Okay, and if women aren't going into church, they're not hearing it, and many times in the pulpit we're not hearing it. So where do they have the opportunity to hear it? Possibly on a college campus, in a campus ministry setting, where people there that are educated can give them the right information.
Speaking of the culture and the things you mentioned, how much of an influence do you think the culture is, the mass media, on the young people that you work with in terms of the influence?
Oh, it's tremendous. The college campus today is probably one of the most dangerous spots for a young woman. Women are being exploited sexually. There's so much going on that it doesn't matter who you're with or where you're with. Everything is open. All types of sexual behavior are encouraged and promoted. And then you've got abortion if you're pregnant. You have egg donation, which is a whole nother industry that women are being exploited. And it's just almost women are being used as objects in a way that is just so dangerous, especially for the ages of 19 to 22 in those years. I feel very strongly about, especially this generation, letting them know that abortion is not the answer, that contraception is not the answer, that exploitation of themselves is not the answer. And I'm very comfortable in telling the truth because I'm concerned that this next generation does not make the same mistakes as my generation did. We were not told the truth. We were told a bunch of lies. We were told it was a glob of selling tissues. We were told, sex outside of marriage was okay. Nothing is going to happen. And even the emotional, the spiritual damage that a woman has, even if they don't get pregnant, is lifelong. Okay, and when a woman goes to get married and she's in multiple, relationships with different guys, she brings all that with her, okay, into that marriage. And we wonder why today 1 in 2 marriages are failing in a divorce. So yes, I feel very concerned for this generation. I'm very hopeful as well that this group of young people is interested in hearing the message. They may have been persuaded by the media in the opposite direction 80%, but once they hear the truth and you really speak from your heart, it's something, it plants a seed. And I give them a lot of information, websites, the internet, which is how they get information. Here, listen to this testimony on our Silent No More website, or find out this information about the pill, or did you know this about egg donation? I said, listen, my story's my story, but go out and find the truth. It's all out there.
Well, I'm sure you can see by this interview Mary's real spirit and how she really, like she said, she's just trying to provide them the truth. They go on the internet, and so she's just kind of guiding them and pushing them in the right direction, so that they find out the real truth and what's out there.
And she works with a lot of groups that she mentioned in the interview that you're familiar with, and we talked a little bit about before the break. And one of them, when we talked about, we didn't mention Love and Fidelity yet, but there's Love and Fidelity, and also the Ruth Institute, which is run by Dr. Jennifer Roback Morris. Tell us about what you know about these organizations. Yes,
sure. Well, first of all, I want to mention that I went to 2 secular universities, UCLA and UC Berkeley, and I know firsthand what it is to be in these places, think you know what you're doing, and can be completely lost. And then to be blessed by a group, a student-led group, that brings you back to the truths of the Catholic Church. When I was at UCLA, I met a group called John Paul II Society, led by a group that was from the Opus Dei. And they taught me my faith, and I was so blessed after that. I never looked back. And what's amazing is some of these groups are popping up in the most unexpected places. This young woman, her name is Cassandra Hoff, she began a group called the Anscombe Society out of Princeton University. And people might not know this, but Princeton is a secular university, but they have a wonderful professor like Robert George who's teaching there.
Incredible, Robert George, yeah.
Unfortunately, they also have a Peter Singer, but anyway. But they have groups that are faithful to the Catholic Church, and Cassandra began that society, but now it's become a network of student-run groups that are promoting chastity, family, and traditional marriage. She has affiliates at Harvard University, Yale, and Yale has a very famous Sex Week.
Yes.
So this group at Yale is an answer to that, and they have gotten mainstream media coverage for that new group that is challenging what the university sees as the status quo. That promiscuity and all of this should be normal. Well, they're saying, no, we're tired of it. We are suffering the ravages of the culture of death, and we want to propose something different, something radical. So they are really making a buzz in these places. So if somebody listening to us wants to maybe start a group on their campus, loveandfidelity.org is the website. They also have a blog where they can find, if there's already a group on campus, you can join it or you can start a group, and Cassandra basically is helping to lead all of these different groups. And they're also on religious campuses as well as secular universities. And then we also have the ruthinstitute.org, which is run by Dr. Roback Morse, and she's done a lot of great work with university students, and she has an outreach called Making Marriage Cool. So we know right now marriage is being attacked left and right.
All over the place.
Well, she provides answers not only from the faith perspective, because she is a revert to the Catholic faith, but also reasons that have nothing to do with religion, but just basically saying that marriage is good for society.
It's common sense.
Common sense, exactly.
Not only the marriage teachings of the church, but our teachings on sexuality.
That's right.
You know, I love Archbishop Chaput. I've mentioned him a million times. He endorsed my book, Extreme Makeover. But in his book, Render Unto Caesar, which is one of my favorites, which I think every line in that book is highlighted. That's a great resource. We should put that on the website too, Render Unto Caesar by Archbishop Chaput. He says that Catholics should never be afraid about engaging the public square.
Right.
Because everything the Catholic Church teaches is about the dignity of the human person. Every person, not just Catholics. And it makes such good sense.
Especially in the university campus. It's supposed to be a marketplace of ideas.
Right.
So Professor Robert George is saying, you know, why can't we bring this into the conversation as well? And Dr. Roback Morse, she wrote a book called Smart Sex, which basically goes into all this. Every university student should read this. Everyone should read it. And she says, in an interview, she said she wanted to call it dumb sex, but she decided, well, that won't sell too well, so I'll call it Smart Sex. Definitely read that. And of course, the wonderful resources found at chastity.com, which is Jason and Kristalina Everett and their ministry, is wonderful for college students. And they have a great book that I think especially young women should read called How to Find Your Soulmate Without Losing Your Soul. You will be blessed by that book. Everybody should get it and give it as gifts. And they actually have a special rate if you buy bulk, really, really inexpensive, to give these.
So buy bulk and rent a helicopter and then drop them all over the place. I mean, seriously. And don't you feel like you want to do that sometimes?
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, a project that Father Pavone and I did back when he was my parish priest is we did something like that. We bought a bunch of pro-life books and we donated them to every public library on Staten Island where he was my parish priest. And guess what? They took the books. So sometimes you think they don't want the materials. Sometimes you have to just offer it to them and they might take them. You know?
I think the problem is that people automatically are thinking, because of the culture, if you look at the media, if you look at everything we're bombarded with, that it's expected of them. I remember Dr. Pia de Saleni, a moral theologian, saying once on my show that she was approached by a young college girl after she gave a talk on chastity and church teaching, on modesty and whatnot. And the girl came up to her and said, "You're the first person," and she was Catholic, "that ever told me I didn't have to have relations with my boyfriend."
Right. Wow.
She never heard that before. She automatically assumed that she had to have sex outside of marriage, at least with her current partner, if not multiple partners.
Well, you know what one young person said to me? Well, you know why we have to have multiple partners before we get married? I went, why? And I said, well, how do we know if we don't like it, if it's going to work? You don't want to be with them forever if you don't like it. I was like, what? And they act like they're trying on a pair of shoes, like see if it fits or not.
Right.
Well,
and it's like it's just the mindset. It's so it's infuriating.
And it's in the universities. It's being taught. We think it's just some outrageous thing in the TV.
No, it's not.
Being taught by college professors.
It's the culture. You know, the story that I told you before the break, the walk of shame. Everybody thinks this is a great idea. Not one, and her parents are helping her with this business.
That's even worse. That the parents are helping.
They think it's just so creative.
Terrible.
You know.
But you know what? This all stems back to me going back to Amana Vitae.
Yeah, contraception.
Contraception, and that document was not just about contraception, but all of this sexual promiscuity,
what it would do to women, what it would do to women, society.
You know, Pope Paul VI had it right all the way back in 68. And what we're doing is we're seeing the results of ignoring, of not following. Right now, we're just paying the price 1 minute after the next.
Well, unfortunately, we're running out of time, and we have so many resources though to offer you for this show. And we really, one of the things that we do, as I said earlier, is try to find good resources to where you can go and get this information and download it for yourself. So again, just a couple of things we mentioned: purefashion.com, endowgroups.org, focusonline.org, cardinalnewmansociety.org, chastity.com, loveandfidelity.org, and the Ruth Institute.org, as well as Jason and Kristalina's website, chastity.com. And of course, we have many links on the main page of EWTN.com and many other shows. I would also encourage you to check out the work of our friend and fellow EWTN host, Damon Owens, who's just a dear, dear man and just a great teacher, and he runs the Theology of the Body Institute, now the executive director, and is my co-host every year on the March for Life. So,
and just as a teacher, one final point, take one of those websites, look into it, but then your homework assignment is at least tell 5 students and help give them this information.
Oh, and remind them, we should real quickly, the Madonna of the kitchen, only have about a minute left.
But I think she could be the Madonna of the kitchenette in the dorm room.
Or the Madonna of the microwave in the dorm room.
And hot plate.
And hot plate.
And she would be a great model. I bet you things would clean up in those dorm rooms if there was a Madonna of the kitchen in every one.
There you go. Get it for a Christmas gift or a birthday gift. Thanks for watching us. Once again, my name is Teresa Tomeo, and my co-hosts, Astrid Bennett Gutierrez and Janet Morana. Thanks so much for your support. Pray for us here at EWTN in this program. And don't forget, I'll give you the website one more time, where all these great resources on this topic of reaching young Catholic women. It's thecatholicviewforwomen.com. Pray for us, and we'll see you next time on Catholic View for Women. Have a great day.